It's kind of sad, really. I spent years putting together this PC gaming setup. Blue, obviously, is my color when it comes to gaming lights. We have an i7, we have an RTX 2060, 140mm fans, AV receiver taking care of the 5.1 surround, which is done with real speakers, not computer speakers. Big 40-inch TV for my main display, and then a side display if I want to keep an eye on things like, Discord or something along those lines, or have something playing while I'm working on grinding something in an MMO. When smart lights and voice control lights became affordable, I set up voice control lights with multiple color schemes. I have club mode for when there aren't cameras rolling, and then dark mode for when there are cameras rolling, and I get 1080-60 with really nice eye candy in most of today's games that I play with Xbox Series controllers, as well as a mechanical keyboard, optical mouse, the whole 9 yards. This is one heck of a setup. And yet, I completely walked away from all of that during the summer heat waves of 2022 in favor of low-level tungsten lighting, a tube TV, and Super Mario World. What is wrong with me? Absolutely nothing. In the end, it's all about having fun. And today, our story continues.
The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Well, this certainly has been an interesting heatwave-packed couple of weeks. Things are cooler now in the sense that we've gone from heatwave to normal summer weather. So a little bit longer of having to mess with the air conditioner and have it constantly going and stuff like that. And then we can get back to quieter videos once things cool off. So it has definitely been interesting since I got these tube TVs. I mean, I've got this fancy PC gaming setup with all the trimmings these days, and yet I'm shutting all of it off after a long, hard day's work, or long, hard night's work, I should say, in all the heat and humidity, and just doing 2 smart lights, doing tungsten, like 40-watt incandescents, and playing Super Nintendo stuff on a tube TV. Hey, what can I say? Retro can be pretty fun sometimes, even if people are like, what? I've also been checking out the Hyperkin controllers that are available nowadays for NES and SNES, because my original controllers for NES and SNES, the ones I have anyways, are actually stiffening up because of how old they are. But in terms of the look and feel of the original controllers, without the stiffening up of age and stuff like that, these Hyperkin controllers are a pretty good match for playing retro and stuff like the Super Retro Trio and stuff like that. It's also fun to take Super Nintendo up to the S-Video level when playing it on a tube like this. I've also noticed what everybody says about input lag. Yeah, going back to analog devices, we're going back to devices that don't have processors messing with your image like today's TVs do. So I have noticed the difference with my reflexes getting thrown off when I go from a tube back to a modern TV and try and play sometimes even the exact same game. My reflexes get thrown off. There's a very specific reason, though, why I've been focusing on Super Mario World. This is actually my original cartridge from my original Super Nintendo back in the 90s. When I was off at college, my younger step-relatives who played video games while I was away erased all my save games. I used to have Super Mario World as 96, 95, so full access to all levels, 100% complete with the spring game and the autumn game if you beat Special World. Well, I made another milestone today. I got my Mario A back to 96, and now I'm working on Mario B going back to 95. So, for those of you who don't know, there's a little Easter egg in Super Mario World where it changes from spring to fall. The Koopas dress up like Mario, like it's Halloween. The piranha plants get replaced with pumpkin plants. You can look it up on like a walkthrough guide or something. There's a couple of things that change with this, and also the vanilla dome turns brown like it's chocolate now or something. It's interesting. So In the olden days, I had this game 100% complete. I could go anywhere in Super Mario World, sandbox it up even, with judicious use of Game Genie codes and start select to go back to the map screen when the timer was running out. But I used to really like wandering around in this game. It was a big, involved Mario game, definitely a major step up from the Super Mario Bros. 3 on the NES, which kind of resembled a board game, essentially. Let's just restart this here, and let's go to the spring game, which I'm currently working on. I just unlocked Top Secret Area. So, let's go to the spring game, and we have... Yep, everything's green again. You might be more familiar with this, and I just unlocked Top Secret Area, going through the Donut Plains. It was also interesting when Steve from Gamers Nexus was asking on Twitter, "Hey, what kind of games are you folks going to be looking forward to playing in the next couple of weeks? I just want to see what the pulse is for gaming and talking about gaming hardware," or something along those lines. And I'm over here like, Super Mario World on a tube TV. Either way, the retro setup's cool and all, but we've got some work to do. There is still some more things to do with this setup, and I absolutely don't want a repeat of what happened back in college when I would move into a new dorm room, set up the computer, and nothing would get done for weeks afterwards, because I'm a PC gamer and all. I don't want the same thing to happen with, we just barely get the retro setup working, and then nothing progresses for weeks. That will not happen here. So first, an update on the Daewoo project. I got a hold of the proprietor of the business that repairs computers with a very similar name to the old TV repair place that I knew about back in the CRT era. And I was like, "Hey, what's the link between your two businesses?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that was my dad that ran the TV place, and he retired a couple of years ago." So, we're going to have to figure out what to do about all this, because I don't know of anybody else that was known for working on CRTs back during the CRT era. But, you know, who could have counted on this happening? Tubes coming back as enthusiast products for retro gamers, playing retro games with the most authentic experience possible. Who would have thought that this would ever happen after literally decades of flat panels? So yeah, the Daewoo remains a giant question mark as to what we're going to do about it. For now, we're just going to focus on the Sanyo setup, since that actually works pretty decently, and like I said last time, the Sanyo never really had much of a chance to be a TV before I retired the tube in favor of LCDs, widescreen, high def, the whole 9 yards. So only now is it finally getting a chance to actually be a TV. You could even say that the Sanyo is new old stock at this point. So the first thing we need to figure out is power. Right now, all this retro stuff is basically mooching off of the power strip for the project area. I do want the option of working on computers without having to unplug all of this retro stuff. So we should probably go find a retro-looking power strip to plug all this retro stuff into. I know there are available plugs around here that I almost never use, so this shouldn't be hard at all. Yeah, that's pretty retro. Definitely not Geekhouse 5S style. This is what I had before, but it's not yellowed or anything, so hopefully the varistors and everything are still okay in this power strip. Yeah, it's kind of playing peekaboo, but there we go. It's kind of a crude setup and whatnot, but at least it gives me an easy-to-reach switch for turning everything off at once. Or cutting the power if I'm not going to play retro games for a bit. Save on electricity that way. Night 2, and it's getting cool enough to take the air conditioner out of the window. We might be quieting things down sometime in the near future. For now, though, it's time for some progression. So we're going to have to dismantle the project area a little to see how this works. But this Allsop metal stand that I've had for quite some time, it doesn't really fit the blue and black attack, Geekhouse, dark mode, whatever it is, but the shape makes it a lot more useful. I got a feeling that I could use the top, the middle, and the bottom to house consoles for the modern setup and put more consoles on a shelf. And then not have to have wires going all over the place and make better use of the shelf space overall. If there's an Allsop stand that is like this, but it is a different color, of course I'll pick that up. For now, though, let's see if this thing, whatever you call this, off-greenish, whatever it is, let's see if this thing will work for what I have in mind here. Too big. Well, back to the project area with that thing then. My old fellow's stand is also too big. Alright, so, right, it looks like it is just the black, skinny Allsop stand that actually works in here, if you want to have something like that over here. Well, darn, I guess I really am becoming a sucker for Amazon Prime these days. Oh, man, look at that. There you go. 2-pack of monitorizer shelves, 16 inches across. Could probably fit the Wii and the Wii U in one of those things, and have a shelf for like stashing controllers and all kinds of... I really got to rethink this, because that will fit perfectly inside those shelves. So right now I'm just kind of going back to the setup I had before with the PS3 with PS2 on top of it. But I could probably put everything really close together now, including the PS1 and stuff like that when those shelves come in. I might buy a third one for that shelf up there that's currently for the Wii and the Wii U. So the idea here is I want to make it easier to console game. So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to have stuff with wireless controllers off to the side. I don't want controllers for wired consoles draping across everything. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out. I mean, I don't care if it drapes across the AV receiver, but this setup I've had, right, no. I think some so-called monitorizers might actually come in handy for a setup like this. And it's easy to disassemble, too. There we go, a little something to go along a little better with the retro theme over here, even if it is getting away from me having everything as blue in this house. My original college alarm clock, Sony Dream Machine, circa 2000, one of the many alarm clocks where the buzzer started flaking out and I started sleeping through my alarm, and one of the many reasons why I use a smartphone as an alarm clock these days. But it doesn't match everything being blue everywhere else, but I need a rather retro way of knowing what time it is when I'm playing all these retro games and losing track of time. You don't want to be losing any sleep because of trying to 100% complete Super Mario World again and stuff like that. I don't know. I found this and I was ready to get rid of it, but I was like, despite the little scratch on it from who knows what, put this thing back into service, make it useful again. Some more progress on the retro side of things, a Wii sensor bar. So I have two Wii sensor bars, one for the Wii and one for the Wii U. The Wii one is silver, the Wii U one is black. So now there's one sensor bar at each TV that corresponds to pretty much every the color schemes of the modern setup and the retro setup. So what's the Wii sensor bar doing here? Well, the Wii is over here now. After upgrading to the Wii U, the Wii was pretty much relegated to being a GameCube player. My Wii is not very good at playing Wii games anyways. It's unfortunately one of those models where the graphics chip has a little bit of an overheating issue, so there's artifacts on the screen when you play Wii games on the Wii. The Wii U can play Wii games though, so all Wii stuff will be done on the Wii U, and the Wii will handle all the GameCube stuff, and it'll go out through component and get progressive scan and basically be my other component console, similar to the PlayStation 2. So since PS2 and GameCube are basically the last generation that I want hooked up to this retro setup, unless I'm getting academic, like, what does Monolith look like going through a CRT? Unless I do something academic like that, basically for the retro setup, the 2000s are really the cutoff point. Much like how the 2000s were the cutoff point for CRTs and their popularity in general. So it's retro progress, baby. The old AV receiver is still the way I left it. There's a so-called Wii channel on there that corresponds to the Wii U. The Wii U is back up and running, finally. And it's easy to switch over to console gaming just by changing the sources on everything. Now I gotta figure out how to save up some money to just buy all the stuff off the Wii shop before it gets shut down. If you can even still do that. Either way, the Wii U can definitely be my Nintendo box and play Wii games. But when it's time to go retro, I don't know. I do have ways of hooking up retro controllers to Wiimotes, though. I made sure to invest in that for these various virtual console titles. I don't know though, might be time to abandon officially supported emulators anyways, given the track record that these companies are having with supporting them. And just like before, there's a source called PS3 that corresponds to the PS3, which also does Blu-ray movies as well. And since we recently got that USB Genesis controller... Sega! In your face, Sega, for delisting all the Sonic games from Genesis Mega Drive Classics on Steam. Well, that's one reason to hold on to an old PS3. Yeah, whatever, Sega. Until you decide to return to your senses and put the Sonic games back in the Genesis Classics collection on Steam, well, too bad I can't put any scan lines on this PS3 stuff, though. I'd love to CRT this up a bit. Night 3, though it was delayed by a few days because of some nonsense going on with Amazon and some other stuff that was going on, but this is a good food for thought setup as to what these kinds of divider shelves can do for these pipe shelves in terms of dividing everything up but keeping everything rather simple. I do have a little bit of an issue though with the retro consoles, very specifically that they take cartridges as top loaders, and depending on the size of the cartridge or whether you want to use a Game Genie or not, you might be a little low on space when using these divider shelves like this. So I decided for the retro consoles up here in their permanent home or whatever, that I would keep them essentially without having shelves. So if I want to use a Game Genie or something and it juts up like 6-7 inches, there isn't a problem there. So yeah, not quite as foolproof of a solution as I thought. Plus, I don't really know what I even want to have hooked over here anymore with the retro setup going for the time being. But just as a food for thought to have everything over here, but then of course we'd have to figure it all out again if I wanted to get an Xbox or something like that. However, this appears to work for now at least, and some of it's kind of redundant anyways, like the Super Retro Trio. You can get a clone box in to cover what some of the older consoles do. Maybe Nintendo 64 will get some clones in the next couple of years. Who knows? But in terms of like front-loading consoles being on the lower shelves, so you just load discs like that and plug controllers in through the side, I would say it definitely works. This is kind of a food for thought thing. I highly doubt it's going to represent the kinds of real-world conditions that my setup is going to have nowadays. And so as we draw to a close with this latest chapter in this whole retro story and whatnot, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun doing some experimenting with these shelves and rearranging the setup and deciding what's retro and what's modern and all that fun stuff. But there is one element of this setup that will not be continuing with us in the next video, and that is the Plaid sofa being spun around. As much as it was fun to sit down on a couch and relax and play video games looking at a tube TV from across the room on the couch for the first time since I was little, I've been reminded as to why I never really did much of that when I was little, and why I was always getting yelled at for sitting too close to the TV. So here's the thing. I was one of those people, and I guess I still am one of those people, who feels like my reflexes are held back when I'm too far away from what I'm trying to concentrate on. So as I've tried to play through Super Mario World again, as I've tried to get back my 100% complete Super Mario World, which right now stands at 96 and 16, I've felt like I've been holding myself back by being too far back, just like when I was little. So that old problem, all over again, has come back to haunt me in my, I guess you could say, old age at this point. So, you know, well, some things never change, and I guess this is just going to be one of them. So, the Plaid sofa will be spun back around, which of course I watch movies and other stuff. I want the option of being able to relax on the couch and watch the smart TV or Netflix or something like that. That's not a video game where being away from the screen won't be such an issue. But for now, at least, it was fun to get at least a little bit retro here. But I really think the same chair that I use for the project area is perfectly appropriate and comfortable for this kind of retro gaming with the tube TV. And quite frankly, despite having the couch over here, I've kind of settled into that pattern anyways. Well, things are somewhat back to normal, whatever counts as normal these days. The couch is spun back around the other way. The fat bike actually has a parking spot again where I can work on it as part of the project area. The retro stuff is cluttering up said project area. The ugly chair is over by the retro stuff, while the creaky chair is over by the modern stuff, just creaking away. Creak! The month of August is almost over. I've got some bills to pay. Yuck. And of course, over here we've seen a little bit of progress with this setup as well. So, with this fancy-ass setup that I have, what have I been using it for? I've been binge-watching some stuff lately. So I have a 40-inch TV, 5.1 surround, fancy-ass AV setup, and I'm binge-watching The Addams Family on Prime Video. 1960s, standard def, square screen, mono sound. What is wrong with me? Well, there is a, I did put a community post over on the community tab for folks to check out. I hear rumbling outside. There are motorcycles out there. Well, they might be having as much fun as I am, but they're certainly being a lot less nerdy in the process. Whatever, man. And now for the dumbest send-off ever from any of my tech or other kinds of videos on this channel. All these years, Jay's Geek House, Wacky World of Multimedia Jay, and there has finally been a dagger in the dark on this channel. Okay, that was dumb. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.
Epic fail.